Hey, what's up, everybody? BDF44 coming at you with another video. So I'm listening to everybody talking about this trade. It's a lot of people who don't understand what the Blazers are doing. Do I think the Blazers could have gotten more for Covington and Powell? I think Powell is worth a lot. I do. I really do. And I understand why people are not in love with Portland's trade. But then again, you got to understand two things. There's two things to understand. First of all, Portland is not the greatest at making the trades. They're not. They're not the greatest. If they were, they would have never even considered what they did in regards to getting Norman Powell in the first place. So I'm not going to argue that they got the best deal they could have gotten for those two players. That's not a good argument for myself to make. But what I can say is cap space costs a lot. And when it is understood that you are in cap space hell, you're going to get lowballed to create that space. It's sort of like this. You know I need something. Are you going to make it easy for me to give me what it is that you need? Or are you going to lowball me because you know for a fact that I need you to do this? You see what I'm saying? That's what Portland just ran into. It's not that they couldn't get a better deal for Norman Powell. It's not even about that. It's about what they needed to create for themselves. The Portland Trail Blazers are repeat cap offenders. They have been docked many years in a row to the point where they cannot use their mid-level exception at all. That is not even represented on the floor. Just like us having given it to Kendrick Nunn and it not being on the floor, they couldn't even give it to Kendrick Nunn because that needed to go into that fine category for which they don't even have a player represented. The only reason why I know this is because I found some very, very intricate, detailed article somewhere that broke down exactly how much trouble Portland has been in for the last several years. And I put two and two together and understood what they were going through. It's why Dame hasn't requested a trade. It's because he's helping them through that and they're keeping it quiet. But I get it. I get it and I understand it. What they have done now, though, is found a way to create the cap space necessary for them to get out from under that situation. It's very, very serious for them. So if when you're going up against a guy who, say, like Steve Ballmer, who understands the trouble you're in, he ain't going to make it easy for you to get out of that, nor is anyone else in the league. You see what I'm saying? And that's why they had to do a trade like this that looks kind of lopsided. When in reality, if you really think about it, it's not as lopsided as you think. Now, I could argue they probably should have kept Robert Covington on the books because his contract, $10 million contract, expires at the end of the season. But if they're trying to make moves for this season, as to which they can probably create some things to do to maybe, make their team a little better, create even further space, there's likely another deal on the horizon for them to make. And that is why they needed to make this particular deal and create this particular amount of space at this time. Not only do they need to create space to just get out from under that situation, but they're also probably trying to create space to make other moves. So you got to understand, people, the Portland Trail Blazers did not make the greatest trade for Norman Powell as it pertains to the players that they got returning. Believe me, I used to look at trades all the time and say, what the hell are teams doing? Looking at the returns teams got, just seeing awful trades like what this appears to be. But what I had to train my mind to understand as I got deeper into the NBA is that cap space costs money. And so does others understanding what your needs are. You're going to be docked for both of those things at the same time. So that's what Portland just ran into. They probably couldn't get a better deal than that based on the needs that they have, because people who are going to be taking back that salary, Covington and Powell, chances are they were going to probably want something better than what Portland was willing to give them. You see what I'm saying? They were going to want something more than what it is that Portland was going to give them. So in order to get that expiring contract out of here and get rid of Norman Powell's contract to create space, they would have to take back stuff that they didn't necessarily think was all that, wonderful to have. You see trades like this a lot, and it takes a trickery of the mind, so to speak, to get it out of your head about what the return is as it pertains to the players, and understand that the value itself is not in the players. It ain't even in the pick. It's in the cap space created by the absence of those players, and that is your value. That is your meat and potatoes. That's what you're paying for. So bringing back Eric Bledsoe, nobody wants Eric Bledsoe. We all know that Eric Bledsoe is a guy whose average is probably on a higher contract than you want, but what they were able to save is about $5 or so million. I know I said in the video it was $20 million. No, that was not the truth. They were able to save about $5 or so million, which represents, guess what? Their trade exception. So now, for the second half of their season, they're able to create that space and bring in that trade exception player in the buyout market, or they can make trades and things of that nature that can create more flexibility for them, bringing back more assets. You have to understand, It's all about creating space for the Portland Trail Blazers because the uniqueness of their situation being so very, very bad as it pertains to their cap space and as it pertains to them being docked in the luxury tax and things of that nature. You must dig into Portland's books deeply to understand exactly what they're dealing with because they've kept it on the hush. That's why everybody's sitting here running around saying what they're saying, and it makes all the sense in the world when you look at it. But if you understand what they got going on, you know exactly why they got back what they got in that return. I promise you, it makes sense. Trust Woj. If you don't trust me, trust Woj. He said it was a good trade for both teams based on the trajectory of where they're looking going forward. Portland's not worried about this season. They're looking forward and saying, how the hell do we get from under this luxury tax situation so we can use our mid-level exception, create some space for ourselves, and ultimately rebuild our team? That is exactly what they're doing. It's what they needed to do. Could they have found another way to do this? I don't know. Maybe a more savvy GM could have made the trade look a little sweeter for them, but it's ultimately not about that. It's not about looking sweet. It's not about bringing back anything that's going to help them right now as it pertains to this particular trade. It's about the next couple of trades that they make, and it's about how they're going to look in the offseason when they have a little more money to work with than they've been able to have in previous 5, 6, 7, however long it's been. 3 seasons, who knows? It's been a while, though. They've been being docked for their repeat offenses of the luxury tax for many years in a row. This is something that I've learned to understand. So that's what I wanted to kind of educate everybody on and help them understand that the Blazers are in a very unique situation. If you've been following me closely in regards to the Blazers, you already know this because we have been talking about this repeatedly on this channel. So now that the Blazers are doing all kinds of little moves and you're sitting there looking at these moves like, what the heck? Trust you me, the Blazers are going to be much better 2-3 years from now because of the fact that they were able to create cap space right now. Understand this clearly, everybody. That's all it's about. So, again, I think Portland is now going to move on from Dame. Because the only reason why I think Dame was there is to help them through this. To keep booties in seats. To be a superstar that would make it so that they can get through this process without having the requisite amount of cap space on the floor represented for a full team. They didn't have it. Dame understood that. He probably sat down with the owners. They probably had an under-the-table deal or something to make it so that he would stay calm as he understood that this team would not have enough to get him over the hump. Unfortunately, throughout this process, they've leaned on him so much that now he's had an injury that's taken him out of the season, and it's thus brought his value down, which means that they have to kind of move on from him a little sooner than maybe they would have wanted to. But nevertheless, they have worked it out in such a way so that now they can create cap space based on what it is their needs are. So it's all uphill from Portland from here. I'm telling you, it doesn't look very good right now, but this is the beginning stages of them being able to clean their books so that they can begin their rebuild. And 4, 5, 6 years from now, when they finally have all of that straightened out, they should have the team that you expect to see on the floor again for them. So just kind of take my word for it, you guys. I know this trade looked crazy. Everybody's getting on Steve Ballmer talking about, oh, he's doing all this under the table stuff, blah, blah, blah. No, he's just negotiating from a point of understanding. And that understanding is the Portland Trail Blazers are in hell, and they need somebody to come give them some water, and that water's going to cost them a lot. Simple as that. My name is BDL44. Thank y'all for watching.